Okay, so this is the Kuntress here on Chukos Goyim part 3. Hopefully big moves today. Well, definitely big moves today. Hopefully we'll complete a big move today. So quick review of the questions, not rereading, just review. Question 1, why is Chukos Goy specifically about hair, dress, and building? Like where do we get that from, given the fact that the pasuk expresses it in a general way? Question 2, why is it called Hilchos Avodah Zara v'Chukos Goyim, even though there's only one Chukos Goy mitzvah and it's only 3 halachos in the entire thing? Question 3, why is does the Rambam start off talking about goyish haircuts in the beginning of Yud Aleph, then have all of the halachos about the superstitious occult practices, and then go back to cutting the peyos of the Rosh in 12? You should put the hair stuff all together if hairstyles are part of the Chukos Goy thing. Question 4 is that there is a shita of Rabbi Meir who says that Chukos Goy is darchei ha'amori, and the Rambam cites as the source of the mitzvos of Chukos Goy to be the Tosefta and Shabbos, which lists all the darchei ha'amori. If you read through the list, the only actual 2 cases of Chukos Goy by his standards are the haircuts. So, like, why does he make that the main source and not the Bavli, which is the main source of Bava Kama? Yeah. I think that was it. Okay, then the 5th question is, okay. 5th question is, there's the Havamina Maskana on whether you get Malkus on a Blu-ray, where the Rambam changed his mind, but the question is, what's the Havamina? And if you say that it's because it's a Lav Shabbaklalos, which we're not going to go into today, then I heard a disaster. It sounded like, was that you?
Well, I got the can.
Oh, okay, yeah. If you learn that it's a Havamina within Lav Shabbaklalos, then we have to understand the Havamina. Okay, so that's a minor question. I'm not saying it's minor in terms of the shiur, but minor in terms of a particular question. Question number 6 is in the Shulchan Aruch, in Kuf Ayin Ches, it brings down the Chukos Goy in Aleph and Beis, which is from the Rambam. And in Gimel, it brings down this halacha from Rashi about if you have breadcrumbs on the table and you bring another loaf. Okay, but in reality, that should be in Ma'onin, which was the next siman, as the Ramah himself indicates. Ma'onin being like lucky and unlucky times. So the question is, why does the Shulchan Aruch codify it there? Okay, fine. Another minor question. Okay, here's the new part. Okay, in order to answer all the kushas. And by the way, when you're learning Kuntress, that's code word for we're going to start answering, right? Okay, so Kedei Latartis Akushos, Ayin Vayikra Perek Chaf Pasuk Chaf Gimel. Okay, Velo Selchu B'Chukos Hagoy. So I did not say Google. I said Chukos Hagoy. Oh, okay. All right. If you look there, 23. Okay, so 2023. Lo selchu b'chukos hagoy asher ani mishalech mibnechem ki es kol ela asu v'akutz bam. Don't walk in the chukos hagoy that I am sending out before you, the nation I'm sending out before you, because they've done all these things and I've been disgusted. Okay, but methodology, by the way, is if you want to understand the mitzvah, go to its context in Torah B'Ksav. Okay, so shaparsha sham myri. Okay, if I ask you without looking, you know what Vayikra Perek Chaf is about? Okay, it's in Kedoshim. No, good guess. Kedoshim. Yeah, Kedoshim. So if you see it here, it's all about Arayos. Okay, so and this is the second parsha about Arayos. The first one is in Acharemos. This is in Kedoshim when it's talking about the punishments. Okay, then the Kuntress says, "V'chein ayin vayikra perek yod ches pasuk gimel." Okay, so that's in Acharemos, where it starts off by saying, Kamase eretz mitzrayim asher yashavtem ba lo sasu, ukamase eretz kanan asher ani mevi eschem shama lo tasu, uv'chukosehem lo selechu. Don't do like the actions of the people in the land of Mitzrayim or in the land of Canaan, and don't follow their chukim. Okay, and he says that uv'chukosehem lo selechu sherov ruba shal parsha sham ma'iri b'gilei rayos. The majority of the parsha there deals with gilei rayos. Okay, Ayin od b'dvarim yud beis pasuk lamed pein tinakesh achareim sheparsha sham ma'iri b'avodah zara. Okay, so in Devarim Yud Beis Lamed, which is another place, Devarim Yud Beis Lamed, it says Be careful for yourself lest you be ensnared after them. After they've been destroyed. From before you, lest you inquire about their gods. Lemor saying, how did they serve their gods and not do the same thing? Okay, so you have like these three references to getting caught up in the practices of the non-Jews. Chaf is Gilui Arayos. Yud Ches is majority Gilui Arayos, and Yud Beis and Dvarim is majority of Avodah Zarah. Okay, so he says, here's move number one. Isur Chukos Agoi miyuchas b'Torah l'shnei inyanim. The prohibition of Chukos Agoi in the Torah is related is associated with two topics, two themes: Avodah Zarah, v'Gilui Arayos. Okay, the Efshar Lomar Rambam hevi es makor ha'isur mi vayikra parsha chaf perek chaf pasuk chaf gimel after ika makor mukdam b'Torah mipnei shal parsha b'vayikra chaf mayri b'shnei hanyanim yachad uv'shikol. So you would think that where's the Rambam going to bring the source from? The first appearance of it in Yud Ches, but he brings it from chaf because that presents Avodah Zarah and Gilui Arayos equally. Okay, Ratzlamar Avodah Zarah Gilui Arayos. Okay, so can you think of something else in the Torah that associates Avodah Zarah with Gilui Arayos? And it's one lo tase.
Murder.
Nope. Yeah. So he's saying that in the parsha, the themes of Gilui Arayos and Avodah Zarah are associated here. Can you think of a mitzvah in the Torah that equally pertains to Gilui Arayos and Gilui Arayos and Avodah Zarah? No. I'll give you a hint. You say it at least twice a day.
Oh, what?
I had to open this beforehand. You get extra time to think while I open this.
It has to do with Shabbat.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll give you another hint. Those of you who were in the yes, I was gonna say those of you who are in the Rambam Yomi group that we started, which this morning I had the zechus of personally inviting Rabbi Maruf to join because I met with Rabbi Maruf for the first time today in person. Yeah. He's here temporarily. It's 30, not 40. Okay. So we talked about that in the group yesterday about the Los Asiru, or was it today actually? Okay. So here's the wrong. Oh, sorry. Let me look at the Kuntress. So the Kuntress says like this. Inyani Avodah Zarah v'Gilui Arayos nimsaim biyachad be'isur echad. So the subjects of Avodah Zarah and Gilui Arayos are found together in one isur. Ayin sefer mitzvos lo taseh mem zayin. Oh, I did do the wrong one. Oh no, hold on. All right, you know what? I've got to have this somewhere. Hold on. Rethinking.
I don't want on the show.
Yeah, I got that one right here. But I'm just trying to see if I had a place where I translated it. I think this is in my shiur on is the Judaism for or against free thinking. Yeah. Oh no, I only quoted part of it. Okay. All right. So you know what? I'll use the inferior edition. I just want to read it from the thing. Okay, hold on here. Sefer HaMitzvos. And lo taseh 47. That's 27. Okay. Well, let me ask you. Do you know what the mitzvah lo taseh is like? What it prohibits you to do? We say 2 times a day. It's also one of the 6 mitzvahs that applies constantly. The Sefer has 6 mitzvahs.
To think about to look at to like days after women.
You would think that. Yeah, I mean, you would definitely violate that by doing this, but yeah. So it's
to think about like fear or something.
Okay. Yeah. So that is correct. Okay. So hamitzvah hamem zayin has harshus haram milios chofshim b'machshavah. So we are prohibited to be free in our thoughts. Okay. And if you want to share on that, then I gave the shiur that I just referenced, is Judaism for or against free thinking. Okay, so it was a lomdeha shiur. Yeah, yeah. Ad shenamin deos hamanagnos ledeos shehevia Torah. To the point where you believe opinions that are against what the Torah, the opinions brought in the Torah. Ella nagbil as machshavtenu. We should fence in our thoughts. V'naseh la siag shetamon etzlo, and make a fence that stands by, that you stand by. V'hein hamitzvos haTorah v'azarosa, which are the mitzvos of the Torah and their warnings. V'hu amro Yisrael v'lo sasiru achar levavchem achrei nechem v'lo sifri lo sasiru achar levavchem zo minus. So after your heart, that's heresy. It's like it says in Koheles, I found a woman who's more bitter than death. And that's my favorite humor line in the Gemara, where the Amora who says it, I think he's telling it to his son, and his son says, what's an example of that? And he says, your mother. Yeah. But it's such a funny line. All right. And after your eyes, those nus. That is promiscuity or licentiousness. Licentiousness is actually the best English term because it comes from like license. It means like being like unfenced in sexually. Shnemar v'yomer shimshon el aviv. Okay, if we were responsible, we would look that up. Hakavana ba'amram zoznus redifas hatanugos. So here's his definition: redifas hatanugos v'taivos hagufanios v'ha'asaktas hamachshavah behen tamid is chasing after physical enjoyments and bodily taivas and involving your machshavah in them constantly. Okay, so, and it's very strange about what that means halachically, like how do you translate that into halacha, Okay, but that's not our goal here. So the Kuntress says that's the losase. V'hi ha-mitzvah hashniya shel hilchos avodah zara shelo lasur achar hirhur halev ur iyas hainayin. In hilchos avodah zara, that's the second mitzvah, which is to not stray after the thoughts of your heart and the seeing of your eyes, which if we had time, we would read, but I want to make sure that we get through a big chunk of the story here. In Cain, Yesh Lahasik, based on this, we can conclude, Isser Chukos Hagoy, Davi Me'inyan Avodah Zara V'Gilui Arayos, which is related to Avodah Zara and Gilui Arayos, Shenira Min HaPsukim, which, as you see from the Psukim, Kasherhu Le'Isser V'Lo Sasuru Demairi Be'osam Ha'inyanim. It's related to the Isser V'Lo Sasur, which has to do with these two topics. So just to summarize here, he's saying like this. If you look at Chukos Hagoy in the Torah, you'll see it in two contexts, Avodah Zara and Gilui Arayos. And the pasuk that the Rambam chooses is from the one that presents them both together. So then you read that, you're like, Avodah Zara and Gilui Arayos. What does that make me think of? The one losase that prohibits you to be involving your machshava in Avodah Zara and Gilui Arayos. Okay, but he says, we need to understand the nature of this relationship. So like, it's not enough to just say, we have a pattern here. Okay, we need to see what it consists of. Ein Tosfos Agmar Avodah Zara Daf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph B'divrei Maskil V'i. Okay, so Tosfos says in V'i Chuka Hi Hechi Sarfina. I'm actually not going to do the Gemara. I'm just going to do the Tosfos. Tema my kaparech dilma leolam chukahi became to kasivna boraisa lo gamrina minahu dahaki. Okay, I'm just going to get to the punchline here. Here we go. Pirish ri detre gavne chuka havu. There's two types of chuka in Chukos Hagoy. Okay, you've probably heard this as psak in practical stuff. So one is a practice that's done for avodas kochavim. The other one is a nonsense, ridiculous practice, like a ritual. So the example, whatever, not controversial, but whatever. I don't know how many of you guys had to deal with the shaila of graduation gowns. Oh, fine. Okay, you're aware of. Okay, right. Yeah. So the story. Yeah, right. So Rama and YHS, I know a lot of the schools that were headed by our Rebbeim. So the whole thing is, if you do, let's say, I don't know if this is crossing yourself like the Catholics do or whatever, that would be a chok of Avodah Zara because it's actually for Avodah Zara, right? But then if there's a ritualistic thing that has no practical reason that people relate to ceremoniously, so it's a chok of shtus and hevel. So the assumption is that it comes from Avodah Zara. So if the graduation gowns, and I don't know if you've ever seen the deans at the graduation, they have the scepters and like special colors that do stuff. So like that comes from the Druids, who were an actual sect of the Avodah Zarah, that they innovated these things. And so we poskin that you can't you can't wear those. And there are Heterim or whatever. Like I've had Heterim before for myself. But so that's an example. It's a chok that's just another example. I believe I saw this in Nefesh Harav that I believe he said. Actually, I'm not going to record it because I don't know for sure, but I'll say it. I'm sure enough to say it. Okay, so let's see what the Kuntress says. So he quotes the Tosfos and says that there's two trei gavnei chuki l'shem avodah zara l'shem hevel shtus. K'mo shekein kasav Rambam b'mor nevuchim chelik gimel perak lamed zayin be'emsa perak. Okay, we're not going to search for that now. Ela shebesof perak sham kalal haRambam ma'asim shel nichush v'kesem besof inyan chukos aggoim. There in the more nevuchim, the Rambam includes omen reading and fortune telling in the subject of chukos aggoy. L'chora lo nehira. On the surface, it's not, that doesn't make sense. They're two different yisurim, right? Nichush, omen reading, and chukos aggoy. Okay, so let's see here. Ella shemizeh yishlomar shelefi haRambam ika shnei inyanim shel chukos aggoy. Ha'echad hu inyan klali v'hasheni hu inyan pradi. This is where he gets the ikar of the svara, I believe. That according to the Rambam, there's two ideas of chukos aggoy, one general and one particular. Ha'inyan klali eno iser avodah zara gufa. The general inyan is not the isser of avodah zara itself. Ella dehava isser l'tanai mukdam la'avodah zara. It's a prohibition. It's a prohibition of a prior condition for avodah zara. V'hu chaim bilti hegyonim, which is the life of irrationality. Okay, so it's an isser on. So this first thing is the life of irrationality. Ratzalomar avodah zara. Here's the mashal. This is the part I remember from the shir. Ratzalomar avodah zara hi kamo ilan hatzomeach mitoch adama miuchedes. Avodah zara is like a tree that grows in a certain type of soil. V'hi hachaim habilti hegyonim, and that soil is the life of irrationality. Okay. Hachaim habilti hegyonim, the life of irrationality, havian inyan haklali shel chukos aggoyim. That is the general inyan of chukos aggoyim. Okay, v'kol el menachesh v'kosem v'chulei, and that includes all of the superstitious practices. Because according to the Ramban, those are real things. According to the Rambam, all of those superstitions are just irrational ways of relating to reality. And he says they're not chachma, they're shtus, and only people who have incomplete das are taken in by them. And he says, She'ein elu avoda le'elohus zara. These are not worship of a foreign deity. Ella she'en drachim bilti hegionios shemisham nova'as avoda zara. They are irrational drachim from which avoda zara flows. Okay? Bezeh muvan hakesher bein avoda zara legilui harayos be'inyan chukos aggoy. Now you can understand the connection between avoda zara and gilui harayos as it pertains to chukos aggoy, she'atzad hashava b'shebishtein, that the common denominator between them, hu habilti hegioni, is the irrational, the hainu chai hal yetzer, which is the life of the yetzer. Mikevan shehimshicha achar hirhur halev, once you're drawn after the musings of the heart, hi me'inyan haklali hazeh, then you're in the territory of that klali. What? Because it's not funny. That's where los asuru is connected to chukos aggoy. Yeah.
The only question I have, not the only one.
Yeah.
But question I have on that is it seems like you could make an argument that doing anything, whether it be avodah zara, gilui harayos, eating milk and meat, would be bilti hegyonim,
Correct. Yeah.
So what's it doesn't seem like it's an inherent.
Okay. I think I can answer that. I don't know what he answers, but I'll try to address that in a second. Yeah.
The specific rituals.
Yeah.
Of like avodah zara.
Yeah.
Those aren't the irrational things. It's the underlying beliefs.
He's saying it's the. Well, when you can you give me an example? Like what?
The one that comes up in my head is there's a Japanese thing where every time they eat food, they have a little like home altar to all of their ancestors, and then they give a little bit of their food to like appease their ancestors.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that specific practice is rational. Meaning, if you believe that your ancestors are a present force in the world,
right,
it's very rational to do that.
Right.
But the belief itself is irrational.
Right. So there is a question here about like where do you cross the line, or like where do you draw the line? Like an example that Shiloh I asked. No, it wasn't actual Shiloh, but like can you hang garlic on your doors to keep away vampires, right? So like vampires aren't real, but when they believed that they were real, like this was like a medicinal, almost like remedy, you know?
Right.
But when you start getting into like believing in ancestors as gods, which is really how they relate to it, not in the same sense as a Christian God, but like, you know, like it's, I would question whether that is in the realm of the practical and just mistaken, or whether that's in the realm of avodah zarah beliefs.
But I mean, when he's referring to like the soil of irrationality, is the soil like the belief?
So here's how I understand it now, and I think this will answer your question. I think so. I'm seeing it as though there's three things. Okay, there's the life of the Yetzer, and letting your thoughts, your machshavah, go free in areas of taiva and heresy. Okay, that is los asuru. Okay, that's the prior condition. Okay, that's here. Okay, right. Then you have chukos hagoy, which is prohibiting these paths from that, which culminate in full expressions of avodah zarah. Okay, so it is, you have one isser, which is just on the machshavah. Then you have this isser of chukos hagoy, which is encompassing, which he hasn't said the second part. He said the universal is encompassing all these drachim of irrationality. And he's going to say there's a prati thing also. And then there's the actual specific isser of avodah zarah, of like making the images and bowing down to idols and all that stuff.
So you're saying the specific practices are irrational?
Yeah, so this is where, so I think that's what he's going to address now, okay? And if he doesn't, then we'll try to answer. About gam kain in prati isser chukos hagoy. There's also particulars in isser chukos hagoy. But who isser gavra laharos es atzmo kamish shechai es chai habilti higyonim ha'elo, is an isser on the gavra to laharos es atzmo, to act, to demonstrate that he is living the irrational life. Okay. Since the nature of the isser is an isser of demonstration, of reflection, reflecting outwards, it can be found in three areas. Se'ar, mare es chalosa gavra kidisa betisporas hamelach v'kohen gadol, evil u'metzora v'nazir u'menuda. A lot of rayas there. So hair is a reflection of the status of the gavra, as you see in the halachos of cutting the hair of the king, who has to get his hair cut every day, which we did. Kohen gadol, does he also get it cut frequently?
I think so.
I forget if it's every day or like every week or something like that. The mourner, right, is that you reflect your mourning status through that. Metzora, similar thing of I think the taras of Metzora is you shave off all of your hair. And then the nazir, which stay tuned for my 2 nazir shiurim. And then the menuda is someone who is excommunicated, which we must have done these halachos last year, but I don't remember what the hair thing is. Yeah.
What nazir shiur is happening?
In my women's share, I'm going to be doing, I don't know how many people listen to women's share, but malbush gam kain mare es chalos gavra. Okay, so garments also reflect the status of the gavra. Kidisa bebigde kuna u bigde evil. Okay, right. I don't think you need proofs that. In fact, there's an English idiom or English proverb: "Clothes make the man." Right. That's that's the thing. Binyan. This one I find hard. Let's see what he says. Buildings, mari al chalos hagavra kidisa b'tsaras habayis uv'miyuchad shemar gam kain al chalos hatzibur kidisa be'erua shel migdal bavel uv'chiyuv al hatzibur likboa beis hakneses. Yes, these are very general, but they reflect the chalos hagavra regarding the house and the tzibur, as you see. The gavra as you see in tsaras habayis. The tzibur, as you see in the incident of Migdal Bavel, and the obligation on the tzibur to build a base of Knesset. Valkin kasav Rambam Bekius chukos hagoim perek yud aleph halacha beis b'inyan habinyan shniknasim bo bahem rabin. The Rambam said that the buildings here are public buildings, right? That's the only way you can be over on chukos hagoim with buildings. Sefer mitzvos lo saseh shniknasim be'ulamehem. Va'al pi kol zeh muvan hakesher bein iser chukos hagoy l'isser v'los asuru asher hu me'inyan chukos hagoy haklali. So that's the relationship between the particular iser of chukos hagoy and the general one. So your question about the particular rituals and stuff.
Let's say my question again.
Yeah, sure.
My question is, what exactly is the irrational thing that avodah zarah or hechot avodah zarah is trying to guard you from?
Right.
The options are either or both. Either there's the rituals themselves, and then there's the beliefs, and it can be either one or the other or both.
Okay.
But just the way that I see, having majored in anthropology and having sort of studied culture, the way that I see rituals and things like that is that they are almost always inherently rational. Like I don't know what he means by irrational. Because they are, meaning insofar as they're based on this belief system, then they make sense to do. If you believe that your ancestors are a present force, then you should give them an offering. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing: that the belief that the practices are irrational.
No. So I think this is a yesod in Avodah Zarah, which is how did Avodah Zarah start?
We can't interact directly with God.
Okay, and therefore
we should ask the sun to do it for us.
Okay, not even that. No. Therefore, we worship the sun.
I thought there was a level before that.
No, you worship the sun.
No, you worship the sun
because what are you trying to do when you worship the sun? Yeah, you're honoring God. Okay, right? Now, is that irrational? To honor God by honoring things that are associated with God, or the God is whatever runs the world through. Well, here's the thing. Okay, I mean, if you say yes, okay.
On the surface level,
yeah, so on the surface level, it sounds rational. And again, we do this. We honor Talmidei Chachamim, we honor Kohanim, we honor Torah scrolls. Yeah, no, right. So here's, I'm not going to read through the whole chapter, but just the first two parts. Bimei Enosh Tau Bnei Adam Taus Gedola. In the days of Enosh, people made a huge mistake. Okay, so we have to understand what the mistake is. V'nivra atas chachmei osador, and the advice of the chachmei dor became foolish. V'Enosh atzmo minatoim, and Enosh himself was one of the errors. Okay, errors, the people who erred. This was their mistake. Amru, they said, since God created these planets and these spheres to run the world, and he placed them on high, and he accorded them honor, and they are the servants who minister before him. It's proper for us to praise them, glorify them, and give them kavod. God wants us to honor and glorify the one who he glorifies and honors. Just like the king wants us to honor his servants and those who stand before him. And this is the kavod of the melech. Okay, so then they started building the things. But then what happened was people then started shifting things, right? And they said, the star itself wants us. God, they started saying God commanded us to worship the stars. Then the stars commanded us. Then if we don't do this, then the stars are going to harm us. And then they forgot about God. Okay, so the answer to your question is, are we trying to get rid of the mentality or the practice? Because the practice is rational. My understanding of this Rambam is, what was their mistake? Their mistake was not in the idea itself. It might have been a good idea. And again, we do this in Torah, right? But their mistake was it was Atzas Chachmei Osador. It was the Eitzah, which is not seeing where this is going to lead, that this is going to lead to a forgetting of God and to descending into all these primitive forms of belief. So I would argue that the Torah's unique position is the Torah really does want to uproot the irrational way of thinking about reality. Right. But the practices feed into that. Even if in the first generation they don't feed into that, they lend themselves to focusing on the material and denying the source of reality. Okay, let's stop here, and we'll bleed out to review the Svara part tomorrow, because he's going to go to another major step soon. But I think keep in mind the tree, okay, right? Which is the mashal of the tree being the Avodah Zarah. I was going to read that to end off with. Where do you say it? Avodah Zarah hu kamo ilan. Avodah Zarah is like a tree, hatzomeach mitov adam miyuchedes, which grows in specific soil. And that's the life of the irrational. And Chukos agoy is addressing that prior condition of Avodah Zarah. Yeah,
it's almost like a corrupt non-definitional, whereas we want to do practices that enhance our belief in God.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing, but it's just in the wrong direction.
Exactly, right. Or even if it was in the right direction, they don't see the consequences of where it's going to lead. It's going to lead in the wrong direction. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Thanks for coming.